What's up everyone, the new Mortal Kombat movie came out this week, so today I wanted to sit down and rank all 3 live-action movies. Real quick, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and make sure you share your list of the Mortal Kombat rankings down below. And without further ado, let's get into the ranking. So easily coming in last place for me, really the only movie of these 3 that I don't like is going to be Mortal Kombat Annihilation. This is the sequel to the original Mortal Kombat movie that came out 2 years after the first one. It only sees 2 of the original cast members returning for this one, and there's honestly a reason for that. It's dreadful. It's honestly like laughable how bad this movie is. The dialogue and the acting is probably the worst part about this movie, and it's hard to describe, but when you're watching it, you just know, especially the dialogue, especially in that famous opening scene. It's really bad. It's unbelievably bad, honestly. The script for this movie feels like it was written by like a 10-year-old who had like a month to write it. Honestly, it's that bad. The acting in this movie has no emotion or heart, and there's just like, it just doesn't feel like anyone cares about this movie. It feels like it was honestly just being half-assed to make a new Mortal Kombat release, because they had to make a sequel and then everything went to shit, so they just kind of, this is what we got. The CGI in this movie is just terrible. There's a number of like shots in this movie that are just, you can't even look at because it's so bad. The only good part of this movie for me is the fights, and even they kind of feel like choppy and cheaply made, and once again half-assed, so they don't really feel like you're getting a full experience. But I do enjoy the fights enough. It's Mortal Kombat fights. It's fun enough. It's really amazing that this movie actually got made. Just honestly, it's probably one of the crappiest movies I've ever seen. The green screen in the opening scene of the movie kind of like going in and out, and it's like kind of like choppy, is really all you need to know about this movie. It just, I feels like they didn't care about this movie being good at all. But with all that said, honestly, I think this movie's kind of fun to watch. The fights, like I said, are kind of fun. It's kind of in that category of it's so bad that it's good. Or it's so bad that it's funny and fun to watch. Not good. This movie's not good at all, but I think it's enjoyable to an extent. It's not the kind of movie that you would never watch again. I think there's plenty of terrible movies that I would just never watch again. This isn't one of them. I know it's definitely not the worst movie I've ever seen, but it might be like the crappiest made movie I've ever seen. But still, with all that said, it easily comes in last place here. Alright, so on to number 2. First, just let me say that I had such a hard time choosing what one of these movies to put in the top spot. They're both really good. To me, in my opinion, they're both really good movies, and they easily could have flip-flopped their positions. I really like both these movies, and over time, it definitely could change as I rewatch each of them more. But today at number 2, I'm going to put Mortal Kombat from 1995, the original Mortal Kombat, the famous one, the famous guilty pleasure Mortal Kombat movie that everyone loves. And I really do like this movie. It does the Mortal Kombat concept perfectly. Like, it just takes the tournament style fighting of, just an arcade game where you got 2 people fighting. It takes that and develops it into a movie perfectly, I think. And when it comes to video game movies, obviously this is known as one of the best video game movies, but I think it adapts the concept of the video game to the movie by far better than any other video game movie I've ever seen. It does it so well, and it really plants the seeds and gives a template for every Mortal Kombat movie to follow. And I think the new Mortal Kombat really was helped by that, because once again, this movie already has set up that concept that does work. The fights in this movie are really fun to watch, just good martial arts fighting, and it's as good as any other martial arts movie you'll see, in my opinion, with a little more kind of Hollywoodness to it, arcadiness to it, kind of cheesiness to it, but it's still, the fights are still really good. There's good choreographed fights in there, and it just makes the movie better, and it feels like a Mortal Kombat movie. But my favorite part about this movie is just how energizing it is. It really just pumps you up, from the electronic music to the one-liners to the 90s cheese, all around. This movie is just really energizing, and I really like that about it. It's honestly like a roller coaster ride from start to finish with how much it pumps you up, and it's really an enjoyable experience when you're watching this movie, and really a unique experience. I can't think of another movie that's matched this kind of like adrenaline rush that this movie gives you. The cast of this movie are actually really likable, I think, and I think this is probably my favorite Mortal Kombat cast of characters, because I really like them all, and likable characters easily goes a long way in a movie about saving the world and fighting people and having defined bad guys. Having likable heroes goes really far, and this movie does that well, I think. And overall, this movie is very easy to watch and very enjoyable to watch. I'm sure it has issues, like dialogue and CGI and just kind of being over the top, but I think that's all part of the experience. I really like this movie. It definitely is a guilty pleasure movie, probably the definition of a guilty pleasure movie. I can easily overlook all the issues just due to how fun it is. it's maybe the best video game movie ever made, because it just did the Mortal Kombat concept perfectly while still having fun and making just an incredibly entertaining movie. Alright, so then coming in at number 1 spot is the new Mortal Kombat movie from 2021. First, let me be clear, this is much more my style of Mortal Kombat movie. I did not grow up with the original one from 1995. I actually didn't see it until only like a month ago. The first Mortal Kombat movie I played was Mortal Kombat 9 on the PS3, which is, filled with brutal gore and just like over the top, like blood and everything. And so that's really more my style of Mortal Kombat games. I haven't played any of the older ones. I've played 9 and up, so definitely this movie is more my style of what I want from a Mortal Kombat movie. And for me, this movie delivers on everything I wanted it to. This movie is filled with all that Mortal Kombat over the top gore and epic tournament style fights, and it really just does it all right. It gets everything I want in a Mortal Kombat movie into this movie. It has, all the Mortal Kombat characters you like, epic fatalities and really good fatalities. I don't want to spoil any of them because they're really awesome, but there's a lot of like epic fatalities, and then they say like fatality at the end of it. It really feels like a Mortal Kombat movie, and I think that's awesome. I really like that Sub-Zero and Scorpion kind of get the lead in this movie, and they kind of get to have their own movie, because once again, they're probably the best Mortal Kombat characters, everyone's favorite Mortal Kombat characters. Sub-Zero and Scorpion, they're awesome. So it's really cool that the creators and the writers gave Sub-Zero and Scorpion kind of their own little movie. Obviously, there's all the characters in here. The movie doesn't directly follow them, but it's really about Sub-Zero and Scorpion. And I really like that because, once again, they're just epic characters. Like I said, this movie has a lot of cool characters. I really like Kung Lao, with his like blade hat. Really cool. I love his character. I love seeing all the different Mortal Kombat characters in here. It might be lacking a little bit with kind of true Mortal Kombat characters, but I do like it. I think especially there's room for a sequel for them to add even more of them. And overall, for me, this movie is just a great time. I was super entertained. It had everything I wanted in it. The gore, the violence, the fights, the fatalities, everything I wanted from this movie was in here. It was structured nicely. The plot was fine. The fights looked really good. Overall, it was just a really fun experience. Obviously, it's got its issues. The characters were kind of bland. The ending I thought sucked. And the dialogue was kind of rough at times. It's a Mortal Kombat movie. What do you expect from a Mortal Kombat movie? It has all the tournament style fights that I want, and this one delivered for me. While it's definitely not a perfect movie, it's really a damn good Mortal Kombat movie. Alright, and that would do it for my ranking of all 3 live-action Mortal Kombat movies. I know there's a few more Mortal Kombat movies out there, but I just wanted to kind of focus on the 3 main theatrical releases that everyone kind of knows about. Anyways, be sure to share your list down in the comments. My list is not a definitive list, it's just kind of my opinion. Movies are very subjective. So be sure to let me know how you kind of rank them. Anyways, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. And thanks for watching, and have a great day.